Hello and welcome to Carving with Lincoln. Today we will explore fruit carving, specifically cantaloupe. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do a cantaloupe rose with a small design around the edge. I hope you enjoy it. So, first thing we're going to do is cut off the end because we need this to be level and straight when we're carving. This end we're going to cut shallower because this is the end we're going to carve the rose out of. So you can carve this very easily. What I'm going to do is peel off the first layer so we get a contrast of color. You can use your knife to peel this if you like. I personally prefer the vegetable peeler. Okay, so once we get this peeled a little, what we're going to do now is we are going to make a circle in the top, and we want to cut down about an inch. So to make this circle, it's very easy. At home when you do this, you can use anything you want to make this. You can use a cup, you can use a lid, you can use the bottom of a jar. And just remember, this circle does not have to be perfect. So we have this line cut. Now we're going to cut again, but this time we're going to cut at a 45-degree angle. We want to create a channel here. And this channel that we create in here is what is going to separate the middle of the flower from the leaves. Bring that back out around again. So I want this to be deeper at an angle. If I leave this the way it is, when I go to carve the leaves, they will be standing straight up the same way the wall of this channel is. So I'm going to reduce that angle so when I go to make the leaves, they lay down instead of stand up. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit off of this top edge. If we leave this straight, then the side of the petal is going to be straight. So this top edge that we're carving right now determines what the side of the petal is going to look like. And we want a nice roundness to the back side of the petals. Okay, so after we get that trimmed, now we want to start to make the petals. I sometimes like to mark on the outside edge here. I never used to mark this when I first started carving, and sometimes my roses would look lopsided or the flower would look lopsided. So for me, I find it's better to mark and keep everything proportioned. And I'm sure you will learn about this very, very quickly. When I'm making these marks, I make sure not to go too far in. And the marks we use to figure out where we're going to put our petals, we'll also use those marks for positioning the leaves. Okay, now that we have that marked, we'll just start here, come across to the first line. Now we're going to clean it out. And what that means is I need to make space between the petals, and when we're cutting this out, we have to make sure that this knife line intersects with the first line that we made. Then we're going to trim it up a little to keep the outside of the petals uniform, and we're going to start our next petal overlapping the first petal. And make sure those points are intersecting, holding the knife at an angle so we maintain the same shape on all of the petals. And once again, remember, this does not have to be perfect. And as you've noticed, what we're going to do is just keep repeating the same pattern. Clean it. Make sure you intersect the first line. Clean it again. We're going to start our petals overlapping each time. When we get to this point, we are about to complete our first row. And one reason that I mark it is sometimes it can be challenging to make sure you overlap the last two petals that connect the row if you don't put these marks around the edge. Okay, our first row is complete. After we complete our first row, I like to trim the center to make it round again. Just makes the flower look better to me. However, at home, if you're in a hurry, you got company coming, you have guests coming, and you don't have time, you can just go ahead and keep making petals. But I'm going to clean this one to make sure I have the correct shape. Alright, once again, we're going to cut our petal. This time we're going to go from the center of one petal to the next. That will be our mark. Clean it, making sure the line intersects at the bottom. Now we want to make sure we keep this round. You want to take off as little as possible. Clean it, taking off as little as possible. Clean it, making sure we keep that same round shape on the back of the petal. Clean it, keeping the same shape. At this point, our second row is finished. In this style rose, as we progress deeper into the melon, it enhances the beauty of the rose. So at this point, we want to make sure that when we cut the next row of petals, it is below the previous row. So this time, when I clean it to make it round again, I'm going to make sure I have a steeper angle than I did before. Okay, same thing. Start at the middle of the petal to the middle of the next one. Clean it. Make sure I maintain the same round shape. Overlap the previous petal. Clean it. Overlap the previous petal. I don't know if you can see that, but this is coming along nicely. Clean it, very little. Overlap the petals. Okay, at this point we're going to stop. Now I will show you how to cut the leaves around the rows. So these marks that we made previously, we're going to utilize those marks again. And we are going to simply trim around and clean that out. Some people like to use a tool for this. If I'm not in a hurry, I do it freehand, I guess we could call it. If I'm in a hurry, I will use a tool for this. Ooh. So that petal got cut off. We'll just make another one, same place. Also, when you're making these petals, we want to remember to keep the knife at an angle. It really enhances the presentation. If all the petals don't look the same size, don't worry about it. Just keep going. So, we have our first row of leaves around the edge. Now we're going to repeat the same process. This time we're going to add just a touch of green, and we're going to make points on the petals. And the way we do that is we start here with the knife pointed slightly outward and bring it around. Same thing here, outward, bring it around. Point it outward, bring it around. Point out, point it out, bring it around. Okay, our second row is finished. Now we need to clean this out again. What we're going to do is we're going to start here, right below this point, and we're going to cut to the bottom of the next point. You can do this all at once and just cut a circle around the bottom if you like, but I find this method a lot easier. And sometimes when I do it the other way, I end up cutting petals off. And we surely do not want to do that. Like that. So we'll trim that off and keep going. When I'm trimming this off, I start and I try to go shallow. As I get to the middle, I push the knife in just a little bit farther. Then I start to go shallower again. Okay, we have our first row of leaves. You can continue these rows exactly the same way. The only difference will be this line has to be slanted now because we want the leaves to appear, to fall, to go down, to shape down. If we leave it this way, it will be nice, but adding the angle makes it a lot nicer. So what we're going to do is start here and add just a slight angle here. Okay, after we get this angle, we're going to come back and do something very simple that adds a lot to the piece. And what we're going to do is we're simply going to make right there 2 45-degree angles, put a notch there. And we're going to do that all around the melon. When you make your line, you want to visualize the center and come down, and your blade should point at the center of the melon. Okay, that's looking good. Now we're going to start the second row of leaves. The second row of leaves, we're going to start just behind the point on the first on the row above it. So knife points out a little, we come around, and you're going to come just along the outside of that edge. I hope you can see this. So we're going to come around and just along that outside edge. Just going to add a really nice effect. And we'll just keep repeating that. You can make these petals any shape you like, but as long as you repeat the same pattern, it will always turn out beautiful. So now we come back. We're still going to go from one point to the next and clean this out. Starting just below that point and a little farther in the middle, shallower on the edge. Just below the middle, deeper, shallower. Just below the point, deeper in the middle. Start making it shallow again, right to that next point. Okay, so that was our third row of leaves. Before we go any further, just this is enough. However, if you'd like to add a little more detail, what I do sometimes is I make a line straight down, then a slanted line. This adds a really nice effect. Straight down, slanted. Just in the middle. We don't want this to come to the edge. So let's try it again. Straight down, slanted. And I'll come here. Straight down, slanted. Okay. As you can see, this adds a very, very nice effect. At this point, you can be done if you like. And what I will do here sometimes, because I don't always have a lot of time to do carvings, we just don't have all the time we would like, is at this point we can cut this off, or we can cut right under it and use this for a garnish on a fruit platter. So I'm just going to go right around the edge here. And we're going to try to pop this right off. Clean it up a little on the back side. And there you have it, a beautiful garnish for your fruit tray. Thank you.